Next, MPs in the UK are to decide later on whether to sanction former Prime Minister Boris Johnson following a damning report that found he'd deliberately lied to Parliament about lockdown-breaking parties and repeatedly misled the House of Commons. The Conservative government will be hoping the decision will be the final chapter in the damaging partygate scandal, but over the weekend, police announced they were considering fresh video footage of an event during lockdown at Conservative headquarters. Well, to discuss, we're joined in studio now by our International Affairs editor, Angela Diffley. Angela, good to have you back with us this morning. Firstly, take us through what exactly is going to happen in Parliament today.
So there will be a debate on this report, which of course found Boris Johnson guilty of lying to the House of Commons, which is a very serious offence. There might or might not be a vote. The procedure is that if nobody opposes the approval of this report vocally, if no one stands up and says, I oppose approving this report, then it just goes through on a nod as the House of Commons approving it. If somebody opposes it, then it will have to go to a vote. It might be that an opposition member decides to oppose it so that it is forced through to a vote. Boris Johnson has apparently asked his supporters not to oppose it, and it's believed that he fears a vote would expose just how few remaining supporters he has in Parliament. So we'll see what happens there. If there is a vote, it's very difficult for Prime Minister Rishi Sunak because, of course, although in Parliament support for Boris Johnson is diminishing, there's a lot of anger at how much damage he is causing. Out in the country, there still remains a solid block of people, not a majority probably, it's hard to know the numbers, but a significant number of people who adore Boris Johnson in the grassroots. So Prime Minister Rishi Sunak will not be keen to annoy those by voting against Boris Johnson. So a bit of a dilemma for him. Otherwise, what happens today is largely performative. They are going to recommend sanctions, but Boris Johnson has already resigned from Parliament. 10 days ago, he announced his resignation, so the sanctions won't have any real impact on him at all anyway. But Rishi Sunak would very much like to draw a line under this so he can get on with the big problems which are facing his government, particularly a growing mortgage crisis.
Largely performative then, as you say, Angela, but talk to us about the significance, really, of what's happening today.
It is very important, nevertheless, because this is about illustrating that Britain is not a post-truth democracy, as people sometimes call some situations now around the world, notably in the United States, the Trump version of events in the United States. It is felt to be important that any member of Parliament who lies to Parliament should be severely sanctioned. It is considered a very serious offence in Britain, and particularly a Prime Minister. They do not want a situation arising where there is a sort of environment where it's my truth, your truth. You lie, you face the consequences. That is important. It's also important the Tory party is keen try not to be beholden to Boris Johnson in the way that so far the Republican Party is in the United States beholden to Donald Trump. They are keen to assert themselves, the rest of the party. There are a dwindling number of people who would die for Boris Johnson, but not very many. And beyond that, it is also important, I think, in illustrating that Britain is a parliamentary democracy. It is not a presidential democracy, and the cult of the personality doesn't hold enormous sway in Britain. A general election, you vote for a party, and that party chooses a leader or already has a leader in place at the time of the election. In Britain, the system is you vote for the party, not the person. And so it's another way of emphasising all of those key aspects of Britain's parliamentary democracy. So we'll see. It's whatever happens, this will be approved, either without a vote or with a vote. All the opposition are obviously going to approve this report. So there's no question about what the result will be.
Bearing all of that in mind, then, is it the end of the road for Boris Johnson, politically speaking?
Well, in his resignation speech 10 days ago, or his statement, which was very, very angry and very dismissive of this report, he said he was resigning from politics for now, leaving the door open to perhaps in the future. There will almost certainly be a general election next year in Britain. It is very unlikely he will be standing in that. So he is talking about after a possible window in the future. It's likely that the Labour Party will win the next election. All the polls show that it will. So he's going to have to wait a little bit of time. That said, it depends what happens to him in the meantime. A lot of people have kind of gone off Boris Johnson. They liked the fun, jolly Boris Johnson. But he has revealed a very angry, some say bitter side to his character, which isn't playing that well even amongst his supporters. Also, he is a born entertainer. He's a brilliant writer. He's very likely to earn a lot of money now in the coming months, years, doing all of that. He has already begun a column writing for the right-wing Daily Mail in Britain. And from that platform, he will no doubt attack Rishi Sunak and explain why he would be a better option. It's too early to say, but for the moment, it really doesn't look like Boris Johnson has much of a future in UK politics.
See how it turns out then this afternoon. Angela, thank you so much for that. That is our International Affairs editor here at France 24, Angela Diffley.